How's it going, everybody? This is a follow-up on the video where I showed you how to make this dagger blade out of a piece of stone. And what I'm going to do today is haft a handle onto it. And in particular, I'm going to use a deer antler. So the first thing you need to do is find a deer antler that's got a pretty good shape to it. So I would take this curved piece, for example, and all you want to do is saw off each end and then saw off any of these little side tines. So I'll be right back. All right, I got my little sawed off deer antler. And you see it's pretty fat at one end. I started sanding down this end. I think this is going to be the butt end. And so what I've got to do is notch this so that it's going to sit in the knife like that. And the first thing that I'm going to do is figure out how deep and how wide to make my notch. To get the depth, all I'm going to do is hold this up to where the pocket of this little handle is going to end and make one dash right there. So that's going to be how deep I'm going to cut in. The next thing is to figure out how much to take off on each side, and to do that, look at, you can just lay it over the top like this and then trace on each side. Now, when I cut this, I want to make sure that I leave the black line. We're going to do a little bit of fiddling at the end to make sure it's a nice tight fit. Now, my choice for cutting this notch is, my first step is the bandsaw. If you have a handsaw, go ahead and use that. If you use this, be really careful. The bandsaw did a pretty good job at getting in there, but there's still some of that junk left up in there. For the final touch-up, I've switched my Dremel tool to this bit, and that allows me to get in here into all little nooks and crannies and to clean this out really well. So what you end up with is a U-shaped notch that, if you've done everything carefully, the point fits right into. And we got a little bit of a gap that we can fill with epoxy, but before I do any glue up, what I want to do is this. If you look at it from the front, I want to reduce how thick this bone is right here on each side. So what that means is, from here forward, I have to go back to my bandsaw and shave some off. So I'll be right back. Okay, so that made it thinner, but now what I need to do is kind of taper this down, bevel down the front, and basically smooth it out all along here. But this is where the cord that binds it is going to take up some space. So again, you want this narrower where the blade goes in compared to the rest of the handle. After a few more minutes of shaping, you can see that I've got almost all of the outer part shaved away, kind of a recessed. And what that's going to allow me to do, the blade will slide in like this, and I'm going to epoxy it. But what it'll allow me to do is, when I do wrap the twine around it, that's going to add thickness right here. And if it were just the handle, just the antler coming all the way down, it'd be too thick right there. To epoxy this in, I've just got some basic 2-part epoxy, and I use a little chopstick, and I'm going to try to get it in there as best I can, and then insert the blade. So here's the blade, and I made this little epoxy drying rack just for this purpose. Just put some nails through a board so it'll hold it in the right position, and I might need to shim underneath here, but I'm going to make some adjustments and then backfill with more epoxy. You can see from this top view how much epoxy there is in that groove. And then here's what it looks like from the side. So you just want to make sure that everything is nice and lined up, and then let it dry, let it cure. So here's the stone knife after I've epoxied it into the handle. That's called hafting. And now what I need to do is wrap this with string or some type of sinew fiber. So let me first point out, don't use cotton twine, don't use string. You can buy artificial sinew online, and it comes in different colors. This is as strong as dental floss, and what it's doing is it's replicating actual sinew. Actual sinew is the tendon of a deer or a cow or a goat or any type of mammal. But basically, you dry it, and then you strip off thinner and thinner pieces, and then you would moisten this, and you can basically wrap and haft arrows and knife handles with this. But I only use this on very special projects because it's in limited supply, so I'm going to go with the artificial sinew. Now, regarding our technique, if this is the antler and this is the knife, what we're going to do is bring our sinew up loop it, bring it back, go back and forth, around and around and around and around and around, then put it through this end, and then we're going to pull this end and this end afterwards, and it'll tuck in so there's no external knot. I like to put wood glue on this part to hold the sinew down, and then I usually do a coat over the top too when it's done. Okay, so I take and I bend this over on itself, lay it down, and I'll exaggerate it here just for you guys. So lay it down like this, and now take the free end and start wrapping it around the entire enterprise. Okay, so that just kind of secured it. Now I'm going to go back to this end and start wrapping it very tightly. I'm going to do this so I can watch it. Go all the way up, go all the way back up to this end and put it through that loop. Now that I've got my last little bit left here, I'm going to put it through that loop and then hold on to this end and then go back to our original and pull the two together. And you see how it drew that in? And now I can come through and basically cut those. And I just take my extra glue, just kind of work it all over that artificial sinew, let it dry, and we are pretty much done hafting this knife. I'll just cut off those little tag ends. And here's our finished flint dagger.